I need to tell you about an amazing story that happened to me last week. I was riding my bike with a friend down at the beach, and I had dropped him off already, and I was in my truck heading home. My bike was in the back, and I remembered that I needed to get some groceries. So I stopped off at the nearest grocery store, which was Superstore, and remembering that my bike was unlocked in my truck, I brought my bike out of the truck and took it over to the underground parking lot where there was a bike rack. I also had a big cable lock that I tied it around and I locked it up. Well, I went shopping probably for about a half an hour. And when I came back to pick up my bike and put it back into my truck, it was gone. Well, at this time, I called the police, filled out a police report, gave them a description of my bike, told them, that it was black, that it was a 21-speed mountain bike. And then I also remembered one thing, that there was a strange woman that was behind me riding her bike. And I don't know, but she was just kind of riding around, and she went in the underground parking lot and was just kind of driving around. Well, I didn't think too much of it, and I locked my bike up, and then she came from the opposite direction she had come from, and she parked her bike right beside mine. Well, I come out, my bike is gone, but that bike that she was driving was still there. It was still locked up, but my bike was not there. And so I told this to the police and gave them a description of the lady. At this time, the police officer told me to go back home and call them and give them the serial numbers for the bike. And that way, if it does turn up, they'll be able to match the serial number and return my bike. So on my way home, I'm talking to my friend and mentioning this story, what just happened. And she was like, "Are you depressed?" And I said, "You know what? I know that God has a reason for this. I know there's a purpose, there's a plan. And that, maybe we just need to start praying for this person." And so, as soon as I got home, we said a short prayer. And we just asked, we put everything into God's hands, and we asked that God protect even the robber who stole my bike. And, maybe that was the lesson, that we just need to pray for this person. I got the serial numbers. I phoned it into the police. But then I thought, you know what? I need to go back to Superstore. I just want to see if that bike is still there. Because if that bike is still there, I will know in my heart that it was that person that stole my bike. And so I was going to go over there and maybe, just wait a few hours to see if she turned up. So I packed my jacket with some fruit so that I could eat while I was waiting, and I took off. Got into my truck, backed out of my driveway. Just down the road, just down my street, I was stopped by 3 teenagers. They were like, hey, can you help us? Can you help us, please, please? Our car's in the ditch. And it was about an angle like this. They're like, our car's in the ditch. We need help. Please, can you pull us out? They're like, do you have a chain? I'm like, no, I don't have a chain. Do you have rope? Well, I've just got a couple pieces of rope. And they're like, oh, please, let's try that. And so, they're like, we don't want to spend money for a tow truck or anything like that. So I'm like, sure, no problem. I have an old beat up truck. It won't hurt my car, so that's fine. Let's try. So they tied it up, and we started backing out, And it was coming, and suddenly it snapped. The rope snapped, and the car was still stuck. They're like, let's try it one more time. Well, as we were trying to retie the cars together, a fire truck pulls up. And soon after that, a police cruiser pulls up. And it must not have been even 10 seconds that the main driver of the vehicle took off, went into the backyard of the neighbors, jumped the fence, and was gone. And the other two teenagers that were passengers, they kind of just slowly walked away, and they took off. Well, now I'm left with the police officer having to give a police report to them. And this whole thing probably started at 10:30, and I was delayed about an hour. So by the time this was all finished, it was about 11:30. It turns out those teenagers were drinking. There was alcohol in the car. It was their mother's car, and they just didn't want to get in trouble, so they fled the scene. Well, after all this ordeal, I'm still determined to go back to Superstore. So it's 11:30. I'm driving down the street on my way to Superstore, not even a quarter of a way there, when I look to my right, and lo and behold, the lady that I saw at Superstore was riding my mountain bike at that exact time. I was like, whoa, what do I do? I decided not to confront her right then and there, and decided to just continue going down the street as if nothing happened. Then I did a U-turn to make sure she was still going down the street, and when I saw that she was just going slowly down that street, I called 911 and reported it. Well, gave them all my information. They said they were going to send out a police officer. So I turned around and was behind her and kind of parked on the opposite side of the street and started walking and following her because she wasn't riding very fast. Well, the city where I live, you cannot count on a police officer showing up like in an instant. It could take, anywhere from 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even an hour sometimes. So I was like, okay, God, what do I do?